Bet. Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Got Landon on from the Lando Show. He's been on here so many times, he needs no introduction. But for those that follow Landon's content, you already know Draft Guru, Cowboys Guru. His following has just exploded in the last 6 months on various forms of social media, doing short form content, doing breakdowns, doing scouting. So, as somebody who happens to also be a Texas fan and does Texas content, I couldn't think of a better person to talk to regarding our own guys, right? And how exciting this week is for Texas and Texas football players. So as you guys are coming into the chat, please show us some love. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to be a part of the conversation, ask us questions. This is strictly going to be regarding the 2023 Texas guys that will be draft eligible starting on Thursday night. Okay. So we're talking Bijan, Roshan, Demo, Keandre, Morrow, Deshaun Jameson, Anthony Cook, so that whole crew. Any questions y'all have and regarding draft wise, please chime in. But Landon, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I fired up for this draft. Been counting down since I think I started the countdown at like 102 days out. Got the all 22 booted up and paid for, and I've just been nerding out on it ever since, man. So the fact that actually people don't know, behind the scenes, we've been planning this show for a little over 2.5 weeks now. We kept having some hiccups. So, but I think the build up to get us to this point, and then we're on draft day eve now. The hype is even more there. So I'm ready to roll, man. A lot of exciting things to talk about regarding this specific group of players, and just really couldn't be more excited for those guys as a athlete who's kind of been through this process in a similar fashion before, going through the whole draft day excitement. There's nothing like it, man. So dreams are going to be coming true on Thursday night, and I couldn't be more excited for a very, very deserving group of kids that are just, they respect the program and the university just as well off the field as they do on it. So it's going to be fun, man.
Good, CB. Absolutely. Bijan.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and the first round pick overall since Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle Malcolm Brown, to the New England Patriots. So
was he 32?
Very exciting.
He was 32, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So was he 32 overall? I think he was.
I think he was 32. Yep. So it's been a minute. Mm-hmm. It's been a minute. But while you guys are coming into the chat, I see the numbers starting to get up there. So please check in, hit that like button, subscribe to be a part of the conversation. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Both Landon and I are part of the Last Stand Hats family. Shout out to Last Stand Hats. Landon, what's your promo code? I didn't even put it in. If for those that want to support the Lando Show, what's your promo code for Last Stand Hats?
Yes, sir. It's Landon 10, LANDON. It's not the traditional Lando. We actually got the N in this one. So Landon.
You got
10.
the N on this one. All right. So Landon 10, if you want to go support Landon, get you 10% off at checkout on Last Stand Hats. Phenomenal company. We talk about it all the time, but we were customers of Last Stand Hats before either of us became business partners with them, right? And join the family. So shout out to Mike and the team over there doing great work as always. And brand new sponsor here to Fanatic Perspective, Aura. Aura.com/Fanatic. I got a QR code here. Look, guys, digital security, cybersecurity is paramount in today's times. This is the best all-in-one digital security platform for any consumers out there. Yourself, your spouse, your family, right? We're talking fraud prevention, VPN protection, credit monitoring across all of your devices in the household. It's a very, very hybrid, intuitive system. You can access it on your phone. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff going on. Crazy good stuff going on with Aura. All the detection. They have 24/7 help desk there. It's like $10 a month if you're an individual after the 14-day free trial. So if you don't even have a system that you're using right now, really check out or take advantage of that 14 days. You're like, hey, it doesn't work for me. all easy peasy, all good, right? But aura.com/fanatic is where you got to go. Helps us support this platform as well. But just really excited all together. Yeah, so let's get into the draft comments and whatnot. Landon, starting with Bijan. So Bijan Robinson, like we said, projected to be the first Texas player in a minute, right? In a minute to be drafted in the first round. How high do you think? Where do you think it's the top aspect where he goes in the draft?
I think it starts at 8. Starts at 8 with Atlanta. Phillies.
Atlanta.
Yeah, that would be my guess. But with a player like this, man, it could really be even the teams that aren't running back needy. They're just looking for a weapon. It could go any direction. So for me, I think it starts at 8 with Atlanta. You get the quarterback run thing is going to make that interesting as well. But Philly's been linked to him pretty heavily at 10. I'm still not technically buying it. You know, Howie Roseman's entire philosophy regarding team building, that's pretty well documented that's not something that they do. And I've got a source that tells me that he can almost confirm that will not be the pick at 10, like a diehard Eagles fan. Just looking at the way that they do things, man, the way they construct their roster, they're built from the trenches. So my best guess for the Eagles at 10 is that they take their pick between Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, whoever's there. I think if Jalen Carter's there, he's the pick. I think if he's gone, then it's going to be Nolan Smith. But like I said, man, Bijan changes the narrative and the perception of the way people used to talk about running backs in round 1, right? That right. Whole idea had started to kind of fall off, right? Teams are understanding the value of the position. But Bijan is just he's the exception. He's the lone exception to the rule. So I think 8 is as early as he can possibly go, and I don't think he gets past 18 to 20. If he gets to the late teens, that's when we start having teams like the Cowboys or the Bills, which I do not condone training up for a running back. I'm just saying teams that are running back needy are going to start having those discussions. Okay, hey, let's if it costs me, I've actually looked this up already. I've done the digging behind the scenes. If the Cowboys were to hypothetically move up for somebody like, Darnell Wright, Joey Porter Jr., Nolan Smith, whoever could slip, they could get from 26 to pick 19 or 20 with just their third-round pick. So maybe the Bills could think about doing the same thing, getting up from pick number 27. I think they're directly behind the Cowboys. They flip a third-round pick. That might get them to the 20 to 21 range to go and select a guy like Bijan. We may see something like that happen, but I will say this. If Bijan does, by some miraculous reason, slip all the way to 26, he won't get to 27. I can tell you that. I know the Cowboys have a personal affinity for him. There is a need at the position. They're looking to add weapons, right? We saw what happened last year in the playoffs. Tony Pollard goes down. You got CeeDee Lamb, and that's about it. So that was a glaring need. They've done a good job patching up those holes. But a long-winded way of saying Bijan at 8 is probably as early as I see him going, just because the way that the league values the position nowadays. He's worthy of a first overall pick. It's just not going to happen. And then I don't think he gets past 20.
So my thoughts there, I agree with you about 8, but I'm going to go back to the Cowboys since we are Cowboys fans, right?
Yep.
And obviously you guys can see in Landon's background, the aspects there of our fandom and a lot of the content we do, right? So when we start looking at Bijan, right, and what he presents as a prospect, one of the aspects that I think entices the Cowboys at the back end of the draft at 26 is exactly what you brought up in terms of that playoff game against the 49ers, especially once Tony Pollard went down. As we go into a more positionless, I don't want to say fully positionless, but a more hybrid model of how we play football, both offensively and defensively. AC Micah Parsons on defense, right?
Oh, yeah.
You want as many chess pieces on the board as possible in those games. And when we looked at that 49ers game, once Tony Pollard went down with the unfortunate leg injury, it turned into our chess piece out there weapon-wise, excluding the quarterback, was CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yeah,
and that's pretty much it in terms of, hey, I have to have a plan for this person. The 49ers had 4 of those people. If we talk about Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon
George
Ayuk.
Kittle. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult to advance at a certain point when you have those type of resources out there. So the Cowboys from that, and not just the Cowboys, a lot of teams are going to look at this as, how do we level up? How do we make sure we balance our chess pieces and have those players? Now, on the counter to that, and you talked about this a little bit just now, Landon, the running back position itself, right? I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs win a Super Bowl, and Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers
starting a seventh round pick. Yep. 7th round rookie Pacheco. Now, that's
so talk to me about that in terms of.
So philosophically speaking, if you want to start from a team building perspective, the thought process is the running back is so dependent on what's happening in front of him, and as his running mate alongside him in the backfield at the quarterback position, right? Very few guys can create consistently productive yards per carry on their own. It's the ultimate team sport, right? And so the idea is that if you solidify everything else, the running back is kind of interchangeable. It doesn't matter really who you have back there. You can get things done, right? And the 49ers embody that. The Ravens embody that. There's countless examples. The Chiefs now are embodying that. But if you view these players in a different light, right, and start to think of them less as running backs and more of, and I talked about this with Tony Pollard, it's the same concept. Paying him $10.1 million as a weapon, not as a running back. He doesn't have to only line up in the backfield, right? This dude was catching passes all over the place. I mean, I think he had a ton of production at the wide receiver position in college back in Memphis. And Bijan can do the same thing. If Bijan was just listed specifically as a wide receiver, he'd still be, arguably a first round pick. He's that talented as a pass catcher, right? So the issue, though, is with taking running backs in the first round, this is why teams are hesitant, is because the best ones, you're losing the value of the 5th-year option when guys hold out after year 4 because they know running backs are starting to figure it out, right? They're smart. They're learning, okay, teams aren't going to pay me. They understand that, it's the most oft-injured position in football, and we break down very quickly. The running back half-life is just so fast, right? So it's the same exact thing that the Cowboys dealt with Ezekiel Elliott, right? They hold out after year 4, so they're forcing your hand before you really get the opportunity to utilize and weaponize the 5th-year option anyway. So that's where the discussion gets tricky. It's preferential. Some people say it doesn't matter. Go for it right now. You get everything you can for a team that's ready to win. You get 4 years of production and meaningful carries in the playoffs and beyond with Bijan at a playoff type contender, right? You utilize him as a weapon. It doesn't matter. Other people are a little bit more conservative. They want to say, well, okay, I value the first round pick so much that, that 5th round or that 5th-year option matters so much. And I want to get to that second contract, and I want to get 10 years out of my first round pick as opposed to just 4 running a running back into the ground and then cutting him, So it's all preferential. But like I said, Bijan is the generational type talent that is going to be the exception to that rule. So we'll see what happens.
The Doak Walker, the reigning Doak Walker Award winner, and somebody, honestly, Landon, who you want to build your franchise around from Absolutely. Your city, your locker room, somebody that's going to be a mentor to young guys, right? Somebody that's going to help within just the overall community. I mean, look what he's done in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and his brand, he's a guy, if we talk about from a corporate business standpoint, Bijan's going to sell, A, lot of jerseys, B, because He's an exciting football player on the field, and his style of play is very easy to the eye, even to a casual fan, but also from the perspective of somebody who is so marketable. And I mean, the league, you know, we see guys getting suspended for miscellaneous things every year. But whenever a guy like a Patrick Mahomes falls in their lap, or the Joe Burrows of the world, and some of these other guys that are, landing good, clean, and wholesome, Bijan fits that profile, right? And so, I honestly think that's why he's legitimately in play at 8 for Atlanta. Going back to that conversation of where guys can fall. If you look at the Atlanta Falcons, what do they have, Landon? I mean, you're starting Desmond Ritter. They said that they don't want to pursue Lamar Jackson. And I look at a guy like Arthur Smith, who's their head coach and was the previous offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans. I watched him conduct an offense around King Henry, a good offense. I'm not saying they're going to win a championship or anything, but you got to sell tickets. You got to have something out there for people to come and see. And at some point, you got to say, look, like, it's just about to be Kyle Pitts, who you don't throw to, Drake London, and Cordell Patterson. Like, is that the move, Landon, for the Atlanta Falcons? Like, at some point, what are we doing? So I could potentially see him going. Now, the one team I think he doesn't fall past, because you mentioned that range of 17 to 20, right? The one team I don't think he'll fall past is the LA Chargers. Our good friend Kellen Moore is over there. And did you want to comment on that, Landon? I think you're on mute, brother.
Would you like me to comment? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a long-winded discussion. I can talk for 30 minutes about that topic. I actually did that the other day on a Spaces. I talked about Kellen Moore with your guy Nix on Twitter for about an hour and a half, just kind of going back and forth conversing.
Oh, shout out to Nix. That's awesome. He's the king of Cowboy Spaces.
He is, man. He was the first person I ever saw actually running and operating one. So I hopped in there and kind of fell in love with that whole deal. It's a pretty cool. It's a useful tool, but nevertheless, man. Yeah. So I've got content on my TikTok at the Lando Show. You can find more in-depth analysis on the Kellen Moore situation with the Cowboys, but I think he's going to fare well. His particular style of offense out there in LA, they've got the types of receivers that win up the field, guys like Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. Those are the guys that are going to, separate and win vertically. The vertical style of offense that Kellen Moore likes to deploy. They've got obviously the quarterback that can handle that situation similarly to the way Dak Prescott was able to, with adequate weaponry, right? Emphasis on the with adequate weaponry part. But yeah, so I mean, I wish Kellen Moore the best. I think it was just time. I'll sum it up by saying this: it was Dak Prescott has had his peer in his ear, right? Who is a direct derivative of the Jason Garrett coaching tree. And it was just time for a fresh perspective, man. Quarterbacks evolve with age. It's the one position in sports where guys tend to get better with time, right? And they don't enter their prime until their early to mid 30s. So it's time for that fresh perspective that allows quarterbacks to evolve. But we're going to see a lot more of the West Coast style offense, where you're going to see quick hitting stuff, actual shallow crossers and slants, guys breaking across the field and not just vertically. So you're creating essentially more quarterback friendly windows and then more opportunities for yards after the catch. And I can't wait to see how Mike McCarthy deploys that. Is there anything else that you wanted me to kind of touch on? Because like I said, I can talk in circles about this stuff now. Like this is my thing right here. So you
just
tell me.
Look at it from a draft perspective. Kellen does have that experience of
right
working with a guy, a guy like and we have some all 22 we're going to share with you guys here as well,
Yeah,
of some guys. But Kellen has that experience of working with that feature back, right? Whether it was Ezekiel Elliott, Tony
sure,
Pollard when
sure.
he decided to showcase him, and with the Austin Eckler situation, which it sounds like that has not been resolved at least as of right now, to my knowledge. Um,
He's a
and
potential
somebody,
trade candidate.
right, him being a potential
Yeah,
trade candidate, that's a lot of load they can take off of Justin Herbert right off the bat and that offense. That's a shot in the arm that they could use. And they're sitting there at 21. That's why I don't think he falls past that point. I mean, they have a
yeah.
lot of resources defensively, and Brandon Staley is supposedly a defensive coach. Now, the guy did allow a 4-touchdown comeback in the playoffs, but that's another story for another day, Landon.
I still can't believe that happened, by the way. Yeah.
I just
shook.
look at a guy like Bijan, as I don't think he drops below that point. I definitely don't want to see him as a Philadelphia Eagle. I see some of you guys mentioning that in the comments. I don't want that for my brother. I don't want to see that. But at the same token, I'm thankful for any first round pick Texas gets at this point, and what that means for the program, what that means for Steve Sarkisian and their recruiting aspect, and just to get off the schneid, right? So shout out to Bijan. Yeah, we love him. And
I did have a question.
On. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, and then we can bounce. One last question about this whole Bijan to the Eagles thing, because this has been a question that I've kind of gone back and forth in my head with as well. I want to know what the chat thinks about who scares you more, Jalen Carter alongside Jordan Davis for the Eagles, or Bijan Robinson alongside Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. What would you rather see? Because I think if we're sitting here today, 2 days before the draft, and we're flipping a coin, it's literally heads or tails between one of those two guys potentially, unless it's Nolan Smith. So we're talking Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Bijan Robinson. But what tandem scares you more? What would you not rather see twice in the NFC East every year? And I mean, as a Texas fan, obviously it's more painful, right? It's more personal to us that if Bijan's there, right? So that hurts more. But in terms of what makes the Eagles scarier, right? And I think there's the fact that there's a discussion is crazy. So I want to see what the chat says about that.
So Michael said Bijan scares me more than Carter.
Okay.
I will say for me, Nolan Smith scares me because I don't want
Hassan Reddick. You damn right.
I don't want them to have their version of Parsons. And I don't want, like, the Jalen Carter thing scares me because obviously with Jordan Davis and the what's his face moved on in free agency, that's tough. So their defense. The thing is,
Javon Hargrave. Yeah,
Hargrave, right? Hargrave moved on in free agency, so there's a window there, right? But they have the 10th pick. That's the same area we picked Micah Parsons. So you're going to get a good football player. It's the same area they got Devontae Smith. You're going to get a good football player right there. But they end up with Nolan Smith, brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I think Hassan Reddick. Yeah, that's fair. No, either way, regardless of who they're taking at 10, they're adding an elite prospect to a tandem, right? So like they're forming a tandem of eliteness. Hassan Reddick led the NFL in sacks last year, right? I mean, the Eagles went crazy. They almost set the NFL record, I think, for sacks in a season. But the reason beg the question of Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis is just assuming the off the field stuff, right? Like let's just assume that Jalen Carter is okay, right? He's mentally off the field, whatever. He's good. Okay. He's who he was at Georgia. Interior defensive tackle dominance is it's a pandemic in the NFL right now. Like the amount of guys that actually can single-handedly dominate the interior of the defensive line on all three downs, right? Play the run, rush the passer. It's a very short list. And so, I mean, to me, if the Eagles have two of those guys, which they kind of did last year with Javon Hargrave, but I think Jalen Carter, assuming he pans out to the, he's a generational prospect in and of itself. Like I've seen a lot of people I trust, Fox Lombardi most notably, saying he's the best, defensive tackle he's ever evaluated outside of Aaron Donald, right? So I mean, that's the type of dominance that we're talking about here. But it's an interesting discussion either way, man. The Saints are really doing us a disservice by sucking as bad as they did last year.
My thing here, though, Landon, is with Bijan and the Eagles, because of what they do schematically and with Jalen Hurts and their blocking scheme, quite frankly, their run game is going to be ridiculous no matter what.
I mean, we kind
of saw that in the playoffs, right? Like Kenneth Gainwell gets off, Boston Scott gets off. Now, credit to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl for really holding that at bay. The only person that got off was Jalen Hurts himself. They held the backs in check, including Miles Sanders, right? So there is a degree where, hey, a Bijan Robinson can supersede those things. Totally agree there. However, I feel like the Eagles could take a guy like a Jalen Carter or Nolan Smith and then say, hey, we'll try to get Jahmyr Gibbs on the back end of that.
Yeah. No, I think that's the more realistic play personally for them. I think they're going to add to the trenches.
And they got Rashad Penny, right, in free agency.
Yeah.
Who, when healthy,
good
player.
History says he's going to play 8 to 10 games. At most.
I want to get to Rojo.
Let's do it.
I want to get to Rojo because we got a lot of Rojo film here.
Yeah.
To play from the all 22. And that's a guy who I think for Texas fans, we're just so grateful for the leadership, the sacrifice, the commitment, the loyalty. I mean, you can keep going.
That dude,
the football IQ.
As selfless as they come.
I'm so thankful for him.
Yep. Raised his hand back in 2019, right? When Texas was decimated at running back. We didn't have any other option. About to go play LSU, top 10 team in the country. Didn't even hesitate, right? And it's just been story after story along those same lines ever since. So somebody's going to get a good one in Rojo.
I mean, that's a guy too, where he continues to work on his craft. He's going to work on his craft. Your locker room gets better with the Roschon Johnson, quite frankly. That's somebody who is, they always talk about the first guy in, last guy out, blah, blah, blah. But no bullshit. He brings that quarterback mentality to the room, right? And
he
that's
plays
somebody
the game
that
like
was
a quarterback.
Absolutely, right? And core special teamer, a guy that we joked about this, and I've joked about this with some of his family members as well. In another life, he could have been a linebacker.
I think he could. I think he could today. I don't have any reason to believe that he couldn't do it today.
When we talk about, I was just going to say real quick. Yeah, no, and real quick, I was just going to say, like, when we talk about what that person can, like, when you hear the term, he's a football player.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people dismiss that in a broad sense, but that is the most complimentary thing you can say about Rojo, right? He's a freaking football player.
You ask any GM right now with the draft process, that they'll tell you they're looking for football guys, right? They want I love football dude. That's who they're looking for. That's the whole point of all these interviews and testing and meetings. They're trying to figure out how you're wired, which is another thing that we need to potentially keep in the back of our minds. Is something I've already been kind of chumming the waters with a little bit, the S2 cognition test. Guys, we got to pay very close attention to that. It's going to be changing the game very soon. The Cowboys did confirm, too, by the way, during their pre-draft press conference that they are one of the 14 teams currently under contract with the S2 cognition test. But all that to say, like, the importance of getting into the mind of the athlete that you're drafting, right? It's so tough to figure out how these guys are wired. Now, the S2 is kind of changing that, but there's no question about that with Rojo. So he's going to make a lot of money in this league for just the mentality that he has alone is going to carry him. And then his ability in pass pro, his versatility on special teams, downhill runner. Like, to me, he runs like a Raven. So I'll be interested to see who ends up taking him. I think he's probably going to be a round 3 guy, but it wouldn't shock me to see him sneak in the back in a round 2 somewhere. Honestly, it really wouldn't, just because of the character stuff, the IQ, the quarterback mentality and background, right? All those things, like all the clips that I sent you. And there was a reason why I did that. It's because it was emphasis on him willingly sticking his nose into contact, inviting contact, blocking down the field, and then stepping into pressure to protect the quarterback in pass pro. I mean, he does it, man. He does it all. So he's going to be in the league for a very long time. And whoever drafts him on day 2 is going to be very lucky to have him. I really can't say enough good things about Rojo, man.
Even this clip right here that you put together and sent over for us. Just look at the physicality downfield, right? Where he's releasing passes completed and he's already engaged with this man
through the whistle
and hands on pads, right?
Yep.
Those are the little things that are sexy to teams. Those are the little things that are sexy to front offices.
And for quarterbacks who are established in the National Football League, they're going to look at the film and look at number 2 and say, yeah, I want that guy in the backfield with me because he's going to protect me at all costs. So it matters. That's probably, I will say that might be the one area where Rojo actually edges Bijan, I would say, just pass protection specifically. He's legit in that area. So, and that's what I was trying to highlight, man. I was just watching the film and that just keeps coming up. Like a lot of the play action deep shots that Sark was setting up, he was the lone man in the backfield protecting Quinn and Hudson or whoever. Casey Thompson last year.
This clip right here, right, where we're in 21 personnel is really what I'm seeing how this starts out, right? Or maybe 20 personnel, because I don't know if the tight end was flex or not. This could be 20, but this is a Bijan run. But look at Rojo.
Yeah,
look at Rojo.
Boom. Yep.
You can't. That's a quarterback.
He's actually got some anchor too, man. Like there's a clip, I don't remember which one it is, but it's in there somewhere. He's kind of standing flat-footed, right? But he's in perfect position, and the linebacker coming off the edge had all the momentum, and Rojo just stonewalled him. I mean, he might have gotten knocked back a half a yard or so, but it was perfect technique, man. It's just that type of stuff that's going to keep him around for a long time.
Yep. And like you said, guys that a quarterback can trust, right?
Absolutely.
It's imperative, right? Hudson Card gets thrown in there against Bama. Yet here we are again in 21 personnel, and Roshan has to go cross-eyed to go. Is this Will Anderson that he's going to get?
Yep. Looks like it. Yeah, that's definitely Will Anderson.
That's Will Anderson he's going to go get over there, right? Because Dallas Turner is set up is set up there with Jatavian.
With JT, yeah.
So backs that are willing to do that, it means something, right? But now in terms of just kind of classifying where you could foresee. So you said what round for Roshan? Because I know on here
He's
on
a day two guy.
NFL.com. Yeah, I think he
They
goes
have him as
before the 5th round.
round 5, no shot. No shot.
That's Zerline.
There's
That's Zerline that has that.
Yeah, Zerline is one of the best. I actually trust his expertise a lot. So I'll be curious to know when this was updated, because it could be a little bit
Good point.
outdated. Sometimes they
I
don't
think
have
this
it.
was done for the combine, maybe.
Okay.
So he's probably gone up on board.
I would imagine. Yeah, he's day 2 for me. I'll be shocked if he slips to day 3. I really will. And we got receipts. We live in a receipt world, so somebody clip that and hold me accountable too. But I'm putting it out there. Yeah, 3 to 4. That's more like it. He's not a round 5 guy, but to me, he's day 2.
Everybody's saying pencil him into the Baltimore Ravens right now.
Hey, see, I'm telling y'all, like Gus Edwards, Latavius Murray, the bigger style back. Yeah, bro. Hey, I'm telling y'all, I wrote that down. It's in my notes somewhere. Hold on, let's see if I can find it.
Pencil him in. Yeah. Pencil him into the Baltimore Ravens.
I don't even know if they can see my screen right now, but I got.
Let me show your screen real quick.
Wait, let me point to it.
It's probably gonna be backwards, but this says he runs like a Raven. LOL.
Oh, that's good stuff. Good content.
So
here's what I found.
The last thing I wanted to kind of show or talk about in regards to Roschon before we move on to the next player is Bijan. I think indirectly is going to help the longevity of Roschon Johnson because he kept carries off his body.
Facts.
The other
question
aspect
about that. That's important.
I mean, you're getting a guy with fresh legs. Wasn't even a starter, technically.
Yeah.
Right?
How many career carries?
Heavy volume. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Landon.
How many career carries does he have, actually? I'm not entirely sure about that.
I don't know. We can look that up real quick, though.
Somebody in the chat probably found it.
Yeah, we can look that up real quick, honestly. But, I mean, I can actually pull
underneath where Zerline had his strengths and weaknesses. He said 1 career fumble. Was that career fumble? Was that the one when he broke free against K-State and the DB kind of came around him up the boundary and punched it out? Is that when that was? I couldn't remember if he lost, if he actually lost that. I know he punched it out, but I don't remember if we recovered it or not. Man, he did not sense that guy at all. He kind of came from a weird angle. So otherwise, he probably would have had 0 career fumbles.
That's the only other fumble. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you carries though here in a sec.
Okay.
392.
Okay. Yeah, that's not. I mean, over 4 years.
Shoot, Cedric Benson. I think Cedric Benson, because somebody brought up Cedric Benson earlier. May he rest in peace. May he rest in peace. I think Cedric Benson had over 400 touches his last year at Texas.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me, especially in that era.
Nah, he was close. He was in the 350s. Last year at Texas.
I think so. Like, just for perspective here, I think Zach Charbonnet, who is another running back prospect in this class, has like 1,100 career carries or something. Unless I just completely no. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not spewing misinformation here. I want to be correct. Zach Charbonnet.
Go back and check.
Yeah, because I said that out loud and I was like, hold on, that sounds like way too much. Hold on. Career carries. It's a lot. I know.
392 total for Roschon. He's got fresh legs, dude. Over 4 years. Didn't hit 100 carries his last 3 years at Texas. He was in the 90s. But, I mean, Bijan, there's a reason why there's some people folks out here listening that have said they believe he will have as long an NFL career as Bijan Robinson does. He will play the same amount of years. And part of that is the aspect of the longevity, because Roshan's not going to be drafted to be your starting running back day one, right? So already coming into whatever situation he goes into, like let's say the Ravens, he's there with J.K. Dobbins, for example.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, if Lamar Jackson decides to play football for the Baltimore Ravens,
Man,
he's splitting.
That's such a fascinating topic too. But yeah, you're right.
He's splitting touches. So the volume, whereas wherever Bijan goes, let's keep it a buck right now. Wherever Bijan goes, they're loading his ass up with carries day one. There's no there's no incubation period. Even like kind of how he had at Texas between Roshan and Keontae. Like there's none of that. Like it's going to be like Najee Harris with the Steelers a couple years ago, where you're our guy. Boom, here we go. Yep. The best case scenario Bijan lands in is maybe like with us, where we have Tony Pollard, where we just paid him, and he's obviously going to touch the football. So then you're talking about like a Breece Hall and Michael Carter situation where it was 50-50 at the beginning.
Yep.
And it was a little bit more even before Breece just started going off in the middle of the season before he got hurt. But Roshan at 392.
That's
over 4 years. The body is fresh, brother.
Yeah. Okay. And I did the calculation too. I just corrected myself on Charbonnet. It was like total touches was like almost 650. So, but that's still a lot. I mean, we're talking about nearly double what Roshan's got under his body of work. So, yeah, that's another thing to consider. Like all the more reason, right? Like I'm telling you, this is a day 2 guy for me, no question. I just think there's too much. There's too much to love.
And the last piece we'll say before we move on, because I think the rest of the guys are defensive guys.
Yeah. I'm excited about this next part too.
Between Roshan and Bijan, just thank you. Thank you guys for being awesome. Thank you guys for representing this program. Thank you guys for going on to get drafted. Thank you guys for what you will continue to contribute to this program as we share your stories. When you go and talk to a parent, if you're Steve Sarkisian and this staff, if you're Tashard Choice, part of the pitch to Cedric Baxter was those guys. The pitch to Gibson from IMG is those guys. The pitch to any young man in this program, I mean, Roshan not in all seriousness, like just being around his family the last few years and really getting to know those people and how welcoming they've been. And I can't wait to go to Louisiana and see them. The fact that he he graduated from Macomb School of Business, man. And this is a young man that's going to be successful outside of the realm of football. Bijan is already successful outside of the realm of football. These are people, those of us who are part of the Christian faith, the Bible studies they've led, the way that they are unapologetic about being Christians out there. Like it's meaningful and it's impactful to those of us who are in that lane. And I'm very grateful that they got to play for my favorite college football team.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you. In all sincerity, thank you to those guys. This is really fun for Landon and I to do and to break this down, talking about these young men. And
seriously, two of my favorite college football players ever in the same backfield in the same draft class. That's all that needs to be said, man. I love those guys.
Love them. Well, let's move on to the defensive guys. So,
man, I'm over here getting all emotional. I didn't expect to get all worked up like that.
I didn't either, brother.
It's all hitting me all at once.
Oh. It's like, all right. So you want to go Coburn next?
Let's do it. That's the only way to start the defensive side, bro.
I know you've been for those who don't know, Landon has been texting me about snacks for almost a month since he's and this is look, we all watched it. We obviously watched the games. You know, we know what snacks was. We can speak to how much he improved this past season under Bo Davis, under PK. We were all there. Landon and I, Kieran, we were all there for that spring game when we noticed right away he was in better shape. We noticed right away the conditioning seemed to be there. We noticed that in person at the spring game 2022, okay?
Yeah.
It translated into the season. He had a very, very good season. He graded with you, those of you, however you feel about PFF loved him last year.
Yeah.
But when Landon put on his scout hat and was diving into the film, not as a fan, but as a scout, right?
Yeah.
You fell in love again.
I fell in love, bro. Like, that's putting it lightly, honestly. And I'm actually going to indulge the chat in some of the messages that I sent you, just to kind of like add further context as to how blown away that I was, because at times, right, as fans, we're watching football, we understand like the importance and the impact that a guy like Snacks can have at the interior of your defense. I told you to, and you obviously knew this, but it's just again verification here. We behind or in front of every great linebacker is an interior demon, just commanding double teams and eating them up like a mid-game snack, no pun intended, like Keandre Coburn, right? And I mean, all you have to do is turn on the Alabama tape. And maybe I'll do that. I'll start a long thread and just show every play, every rep that he took, because he was dominating those boys. Two grown-ass men weren't moving him. Not a single inch. Like, everything they got, the anchor, Keandre Coburn was not moving. I told you, here's one of the messages I sent you. It's a good thing this play wasn't a designed counter to the right, because stuff like this is all over the film. It's exactly what happens when you try to block Keandre Coburn with just one man. You can't. So, I mean, two grown-ass men, they can't move him. He's penetrating. If you just type in the Lando Show in your Twitter search bar, whoever's out there listening and is curious about learning a little bit more on some of my thoughts, you type in the Lando Show and then also Coburn or Keandre Coburn or Snacks or whatever, it should pull up. They've got Siaki Ika out of Baylor, right? Same position, similar type of player, projected in the second round by most accounts. Keandre Coburn, on the other hand, is projected, depending on who you ask, early day 3, like between rounds 4 and 5. I've even seen some mocks where they've got him in the 6th round. Now, people that are mocking 6th and 7 round drafts, I think, are just wild. I mean, more power to them. I don't know how you can.
Yeah. What you're some wild boys out there.
It's crazy. But anyway, Keandre Coburn is every bit the anchor that Siaki Ika is. He is every bit the interior penetrator. More so, actually, because he's a better athlete, and the combine testing would absolutely back that up. We can pull up the RAS scores if we need to. There's nothing that Siaki Ika does that Keandre Coburn can't do better, and that he didn't do better. Like we've seen it. Like, I posted a clip once again. If you type in the Lando Show and Siaki Ika, you will see me comparing the two players, and there's a clip there of Siaki Ika, and this is not a knock on him at all. I'm just saying, in the 4 games of film that I have in my database from Keandre Coburn, he never once ended up on the ground or on his back. And I saw that multiple times for Siaki Ika, whether it was a one-on-one or a double team. Keandre Coburn didn't fall down. He didn't get pushed backwards. Siaki Ika did. And the lateral agility, the fluidity for a guy at his size is something also that Siaki Ika doesn't possess currently. Now, both of those guys, they're going to be in the league for 10 years because they're going to put them, literally, they're going to line them up at 1 tech and say, don't move. Do not move. And they're going to destroy run games for a very long time. But I can't figure out in my head why Keandre Coburn isn't getting the same love that guys like Siaki Ika are. Keanu Benton is another guy in the second round that, again, he's a guy I'm on record saying would be my dream draft scenario for the Cowboys at 58 in round 2, but he possesses more pass rush ability than those two guys. So that's why the ceiling, I think, for the one tech run stuffer type like Keandre Coburn and Siaki Ika are is back end of round 2. But if we're having these discussions with Siaki, then Keandre Coburn belongs in that exact same breath. And the fact that he's not is crazy to me. His film was fun, man. He's going to be missed. He's definitely going to be missed. So I don't know if I've said enough about that, but I'm gonna let you take it from there, bro. Because I think I've said all that needs to be said.
Yeah. So like this play here, which is going to be scouting tape for a whole bunch of players, and that's the cool thing about matchups like Texas versus Bama, because this is tape that's going to be used for Jalen Ford next season, right?
Yep.
And multiple players that are still come back to Texas, whether it's a positive weakness or question mark, what have you. But Bama's basically running duo here, right? Double team on both sides, and you see what happens to Alfred Collins, and you see what happens to Keandre Coburn, right? And you see Jalen Ford is clean, right? There's no stat. There's no stat for this, right? Let's just talk ball right now. There's no stat for this. Like, you don't get credit for getting a stalemate on a double.
You don't see him moving backwards. There are two grown ass men right there in that play. Watch it again. I mean, I want people to understand what I'm talking about. I'm not blowing smoke just because he plays for Texas. And we're going to talk about the flip side of that same coin here in a second when we get to DeMar Van Overshown. But there is nothing to hate about Keandre Coburn when you watch him on film.
Jalen Ford's lined up off his left hip.
Right.
That's basically his fullback. Untouched.
Yeah, I mean,
because the center goes to Alfred, and they get Alfred on the ground.
Yeah,
but
this was the entire game.
When we look at,
and this is Alabama we're talking about. This is not Louisiana or Rice or And now there's not a first round player this year on that Alabama offensive line, but still, I mean, it's a factory over there.
So I'll pull up another clip here, Landon. Now, what range do you see for Coburn realistically? I know you talked about Siaki Ika, and I know after the combine, like, people were really kind of fawning over him, the natural size. Mm-hmm. He is a pretty good athlete for his size over at Baylor. And then also the other thing, is the stigma, because Baylor guys right now have, Texas guys haven't had that same draft stigma. I go back to what Princely said. Princely, who went to Florida and made the comment about Charles Omenihu when he decided to pick Florida over Texas. And he said if Charles Omenihu had a Alabama jersey on with the same tape that he had his last year at Texas, he would have been a second-round pick, not a sixth-round pick, or wherever Charles went. I think Charles was either fifth or sixth round, but Charles was unbelievable his last year at Texas and still dropped with the wingspan, with the height and everything you look for. And now we've obviously seen what Charles has developed into in the league as one of the better 3-4 guys, one of the better odd front guys in the entire NFL at the end.
For one of the better defenses in football. Yeah. Yeah. I want fans to understand too, or just the people in the chat listening right now, the importance of what you just said, right? The context to when you told me that, I was blown away. That if he just simply wore a different helmet, we're talking about a first round, second round type of player here. And instead, he's way back towards the end of day 3. So that's just it's wild to me. Scouting the helmet does come into play here. And when we're talking about Keandre Coburn, I want to know, I think Steven said he's going to run to the restroom real quick. So we'll take it to the chat. You guys let me know where you are projecting or where you anticipate seeing Keandre Coburn go. I will say I personally think it's – so thinking about the way that the league values interior defensive tackles, right? Guys that are kind of just asked to play on early downs and anchor and stop the run. Those are day 3 guys usually. Now, if you can add a little bit of pass rush in there, which is a guy like Keanu Benton, who I'm on record talking about, you can find him on my channel as well. If you can anchor the run and get to the quarterback, that's when we start talking about round 2, day 2 type stuff, right? And again, that's still kind of where I'm not so sure about how, like what the dynamic is with Siaki Ika, because he's not really going to provide you a ton of pass rush either. So, in my opinion, I'm seeing Keandre Coburn, and I think he's a round 3 ceiling, round 4 floor. So the ceiling would be back into day 2. The floor would be front end of day 3. So you guys let me know what you think about that. 6th undrafted. Undeservingly. You think so?
Why undrafted? I don't see undrafted for Coburn, but I respect my boy Michael here.
Yeah.
I need you to chime in the comment section on why you're seeing undrafted there, brother.
That's been the range. And again, that's why I've been kind of trying to advocate for it, because I see it so much differently. So I'm not sure what the NFL experts or the scouts are seeing and telling these people who are making these mock drafts, but I just don't see it that way. I'll be happy to be corrected and be proven wrong here in a couple days. But
are we drinking too much Kool-Aid?
I don't think so. Because he wasn't on my day 3 radar. I didn't turn on his film expecting to see that. So I didn't have a preconceived notion I was trying to verify. I was just very impressed, man. So, yeah, that's a good point. They did that to Puna. That's true. But Coburn's bigger. He's bigger than Puna.
I also think, I mean,
what was Puna's wait.
Well, Taquan Graham went in the 5th round.
Yeah.
And I think Keandre's last year of tape is better than I think Keandre's last year of tape is a little bit better than Taquan Graham's last year of tape, in my opinion. Yes, look, let me see. I didn't love his combine performance for Coburn. However, the film this year and his physical shape is much better to me.
Yeah. But again, I mean,
you're
not gonna be wowed by a 340-pound guy at the combine, anyways. Like, we have to have realistic expectations here in just terms of the eye test. Right. Now you can evaluate his total performance as a whole as it relates to his peers, right? I don't know what was his RAS score. I think he tested in like the 40th percentile or something like that. Or 50th percentile.
Well,
maybe.
If we go
just athletic.
I know you said it's a little you said it's a little dated, but if we look at Zerline again,
yeah.
He's got him at the stout nose. He's got him in that 5 to 6 window.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be around that 5 to 6 range. I would not be surprised if somebody jumped up there and took him in the 4th. Okay. I will say this with Coburn, the whole aspect of his career and the success of his career will be determined by his nutrition. And because I can tell you, and Landon knows this, but I've had an opportunity to talk to Keandre a little bit behind the scenes. One of the things, and he stayed for Texas. He wanted to, he really, really wanted the best for Texas. And I've shared some of this with Landon with some of our conversations with Keandre, but I remember him thanking us for not giving up on him and saying, hey, man, I knew I needed to come back. Like, he's self-aware. That's the thing I will say about Keandre. He's self-aware. He knows what he needs to do. He freaking did it last year. And I will say this. For those of you talking about the sacks, shout out to my guy Richard Corrigan here. Richard, are you still in South Korea on tour? Where are you at right now? Or were you in Vietnam? Thank you for your service over there, my guy. And Richard's been with me for years. Richard's been with me for years.
I remember seeing him.
But I will, with all the pleasantries out of the way, Richard, yes, the NFL wants sacks, but sacks are nuanced. Pressure is nuanced based upon what role people are doing. And here's the cool thing about Keandre.
That's not his position.
Keandre, it's not his position. He is a nose. But last year, damn it, when we put him next to Byron Murphy a few times, he went, oh, you're in Japan. Okay, he said it's 10:49 Japan. I knew you were over there somewhere. Damn it. Keandre can give you some pass rush. Longhorn fans.
Yeah, that's
Landon.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember Kansas? Who won the Kansas State game this past year, guys?
Him single-handedly, late in the fourth quarter.
Late in the fourth quarter. On a 2-minute drill. Man.
Yeah.
2-minute drill. Adrian Martinez running all over the damn place. And who's the person that gets the ball out, right? Who's the person that gets home? It's Keandre. So you guys talk about sacks. Yeah, like that's not his job per se. But damn it, he can do it. And damn it, he showed us he was freaking clutch.
Yeah. Yep.
We don't win that game. I firmly believe if he doesn't make that play, Kansas State ties that game up. We're going to overtime.
On the road.
On the road.
Yep.
He got home. He also had a fumble earlier in that game where he didn't get to it, but he was, I don't know how many people remember this. He was on the sideline and he dove for it, or it was either him or T Sweat. But one of them big boys dove for it, and the ball went out of bounds. And we were a little frustrated because we could have got a turnover to end the game. And then but then he got home.
He got home again.
And got against Adrian Martinez while walking back their interior offensive line. Don't sit up here and tell me that this brother can't be more than just a plug.
Right. That's my whole argument with Siaki Ika. Because if Siaki is getting that day 2 love, then Keandre provides more pass rush than he does. And again, it's not a ton because it's not their position. It's not their body type. They're not built to rush the passer, but he can do it athletically. So, oh, that's a good point too, though. Whoever said pressures are a more, consistent.
Yes, I'll go back to that comment.
Yeah, that's very true and important for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Like these guys at the NFL level and even the college level, they know things are designed for who they want to finish the play, per se, or where they're funneling things into. But you need people. There's no stat for the guy that can control the line of scrimmage and funnel stuff into. Like we're not saying that Keandre Coburn is going to be Chris Jones, right? It's very rare that you have the interior guy that's also going to get the stats. Like that's not what we're talking about at all.
Yeah. That was my whole point with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, like why that tandem is so scary for me, because those two guys can do both things. And that's just such a rare thing. It's rare in today's NFL.
Nate's takes. Landon and I are going to answer this question in 1 sec, but I want to say one other thing. Landon and I, as Cowboys fans, watching Dan Quinn and how he's managed his defensive line and the interior, I do think Keandre Coburn can be a Carlos Watkins, not same type of player, but in terms of just rotational impact on a team.
He absolutely fits a need for the Cowboys right now. No question about it. No question about it. And I'd take him. I'd take him at 90. I'd take him at 90.
Let's not get ridiculous. I mean, yeah, we took guys before like Chauncey Golston and guys that are contributing for us on the Cowboys. By the way, like these are guys but they're also guys, Landon, that they have a diet of plays. They don't play the whole game.
Nah,
they come in
early downs and rotational players.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Keandre, we were at Texas. We were asking Keandre to play the whole damn game.
Yeah.
At the pro level, it's going to be like, bro, can you give me 25 snaps?
Yep.
I'm telling y'all, and that mentality is why people like Puna have fell. That's why people like Charles have fell. And then we turn around and 3 years later, and it's like, damn, so-and-so should have been picked, or so-and-so should have been drafted. Nate, I'm going to answer your question, but at first, Dorian's in here. Dorian, what's good? Brother, you missed. I got emotional about your little brother, Roshan. You came in here late, but I told the people I'm going to come visit you in NOLA in Louisiana, man. But hey, in all seriousness, Dorian, I mean this sincerely. To you, your family, like y'all have been unbelievable to this program the last 4 years, brother. And just you being in the chats all the time, all the feedback we've gotten from you and your family, how y'all treated me behind the scenes. You guys are amazing. And I wish you could have saw what we did. We did a whole segment on your brother. So go back and watch that when you get a chance.
Over there.
Yeah, man. But because like Dorian's always, I mean, he probably gonna he said
damn, I missed.
in all seriousness, like text me after you see what we said. Please let me know if you think we misrepresented your brother. But we ain't doing this. I keep it a buck over here. Lando keeps it a buck, right? But in all seriousness, the contributions made to the program. This is a fun period to celebrate. It's like graduation. I remember when you told me how proud you were of Roshan for graduating from Macomb's Business School and what that meant to y'all's family. Y'all are incredible people, man. So love y'all, and we're gonna keep it moving over here. So we got to get to another guy. Nate. First off, let's answer your question. I agree. Rojo would be an awesome pairing with Tony Pollard, especially complimentary wise, the dirty work, replacing Ezekiel Elliott,
100%,
and the dirty work that Zeke did. If the Cowboys, Landon and I, you won't hear a damn complaint from us if that's the pick. And Dorian, if that's the pick, then you're crashing at my place if Roshan ends up being a Cowboy. I'm gonna tell you that right now in the guest bedroom.
And I'm gonna get some shit for saying this, but in a lot of ways, my team building philosophy, the way that I like Roshan in round 3 almost as much, if not as much, maybe more. I'll have to think about this one for a second, as I would Bijan in round 1. And that's not a hot take. It's just the value of the position in today's NFL. It's changed. It's changed the way that I approach things. And so that's how I feel.
Nate had a couple good questions here that I want to address. And I think I missed one earlier. But he asked, hold on. Damn it, I'm getting lost in the chat, y'all. Nate, you said something else that I wanted to address. And I can't find it now.
See if I can find it.
It was before this comment about how much do y'all think Bo did. Maybe it was this comment. Nate, I do think that helps us ultimately with the helmets. Listen, I'm going to be very clear. Roshan or Bijan is going to at least get us off the hide of we don't have a first round pick, God willing, right? So that's number one.
Yeah.
We can get that off. So in negative recruiting, people can't use that shit anymore. That's number one. Number two, Bo Davis, and this is where recruiting from a long term with Texas is so dope. Almost everybody on our staff, outside of a few people like Blake Gideon and I think PK and Cho, I think everybody else has coached in the league at some point. Maybe Banks. I don't know if Banks has, but I know Flood has. Obviously, Chris Jackson. Tashard Choice played for our beloved Cowboys. For those that remember the TC era. Sark, DQing him. We already know the history there as an OC as recently as the Atlanta Falcons, right? There's so many. Bo Davis was a defensive line coach with the Detroit Lions, and ushered in guys like Ashawn Robinson into the league, and some of those those peak years of the Bama D line that just came in dominating on the interior, right? That was Bo Davis. So yes, that I do think that can help. And we're going to get to Ojimo here in a second. The next person will be Demo, and then we'll get to Ojimo, Landon. Okay. But Bo Davis 100% helps us there. The credibility with the staff helps you there. When you have guys that are on the staff that have been in NFL locker rooms and NFL war rooms and know what teams are looking for, yes, they know how to talk to the players and speak to what they need to see in order of what they were looking for when they were hunting.
Yeah.
Right. So that element at Texas is important to highlight, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Let's get to Demo.
Let's get to Demo.
Oh, hang on. Nate said, definitely agree with Landon on the value with Rojo later, but I'm going to be hurting if Bijan cooking us that right. Hey, that's fair.
Same, bro. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. No doubt.
And
I'm glad you can, kind of like set your Texas goggles aside for a second and appreciate just what I was trying to get at in terms of the value. So just the way I see it, man. I as much as I love Bijan Robinson, and again, I'll say it again, both of those two guys are two of my favorite college football players ever. I can't single-handedly just pick one, but it's that position sucks in the NFL, and that you wear down quickly. But anyways, moving on to Demo. Did you want to start, Steve? I'll let you go first on this one if you want.
I'll start. And by the way, guys, make sure you're subbed up. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button. Those of you that are in here in the chat or watching on the rewatch. This is your Texas Longhorn draft guide. We are two Texas fans just talking about our guys. And those of you who will be watching this video after the draft, let's say your favorite team drafted one of our players. You're getting an inside look at what we know. We've been watching these guys, some of these young men overshown here, but watching Demarvion overshown since 2017 out of Arp, Texas, when we started recruiting him.
Yeah,
and he came in as a 5-star, part of the 2018 class with Caden Stearns and all those guys, and BJ Foster and that whole crew.
What a loaded secondary class that was, man.
Yeah, back in 2018. We've been watching. So if you're coming in that group here, I'm sorry?
Was Tyler Owens in that group too?
Tyler Owens, I believe, was 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. But that BJ Foster, overshown, Caden Stearns class, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Deshaun Jameson was in that crew as well.
That sounds right. Yeah,
I could be mistaken there. Like my grandmother always says, charge it to my head, not my heart. In regards to Demarvion overshown, number one, the natural athleticism, and when he's on, he's on. Demarvion will be a productive player for a team. The question for me, and ultimately where he has to get to is he a productive player that's a spot starter on defense and an awesome special teamer, a guy that's going to be on pump block, a guy that's going to be on kickoff team, on all your core, basically a core special teamer, as I call him. Or is he going to be more than that? Because I believe he has the potential to be more than that when you look at the measurables. And even if I go down here, as I have his draft profile up, the length, the wingspan, the 40-yard dash, being a sub 4.6 guy.
Yeah.
And on tape, one play that, just there's so many plays with Demo where you just the athleticism blows you off, just blows you out of the water, right? I mean, Oklahoma. This is a very underrated play where I was like, wow, that was a crazy play by Demo. Last year, when we obliterated Oklahoma off the face of the earth, and by the way, don't let any Oklahoma fan out there gaslight you and tell you that you shouldn't be celebrating beating the shit out of them 49-0. If they beat us 49-0, we'd never hear the end of it.
Right.
So don't ever let anybody online and your friend group, that guy Richard at the water cooler at work, don't take it from him.
Richard,
we beat their ass 49-0.
Richard.
They have to get it back in Dallas in 2023. But until that day comes, do not let them talk to you. Fight back, Texas fans.
Don't do it.
Anytime you beat, that was our easiest win of the whole damn season. They want to act like, oh man, it's so cathartic that we suffered that loss and blah blah blah. Those are the most delusional people on the planet. I love y'all, but some of my OU friends out there, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I apologize for the sidebar. In that game, though, in that 49-0 obliteration, Brent Venables, realizing that his team is getting ready to get blown off the face of the earth, decides to try a fake field goal. Does anybody remember the fake field goal on the first drive after they ran out of their opening script? They try a fake field goal, which they convert for a first down. I think it was like 3 yards they needed or something like that. But DeMarvion Overshown, go back and watch that play. We don't have that clip here, but go back and watch DeMarvion Overshown on that field goal. And tell me that this person can't cover ground like a maniac when he's out in the open field. And Landon, I'm getting ready to pass off to you, but the biggest thing, what will determine whether or not DeMarvion Overshown is a guy that kind of bounces around the league as a project that coaches want to work with, a hybrid player, of a guy that is, we know he's great on special teams. He's blocked punts for us. We know the effort is always there on 100, but can he develop into a guy that cerebrally and physically can play on the inside the tackles and understand what's going on, take on blocks properly, play with proper technique, and be consistent as well as in coverage? That remains to be seen, right? And that's why he's here. That's going to make the difference between whether or not he's a guy that bounces around on 3 or 4 different teams or a guy that ends up getting a second contract and is a starter, because I think he does have that potential.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you pretty much kind of summed it up. Really, the biggest question for Demo is going to be the play strength, especially to the strong side. So, like, in my notes, I have written down he's phenomenal pursuing and stopping the run from the weak side. Basically, his backside range, when he's not having to directly take on, power blocking schemes, downhill running schemes directly at him, he's as good as they come. Just his pursuit and the ability to chase from the backside. But his issue, and you're going to see it all over the place. I mean, I guarantee you on day 2 or day 3, whenever he's selected, that's going to be the talking point. You're going to see it on your television screen when you're watching the NFL draft. They're going to be talking about the strength, right? He's a 90, depending on what you look at, 92nd to 94th percentile athlete based on linebackers at the combine. Elite athletic profile, but his strength is in like the 13th to 15th percentile. And so taking on blocks, stacking and shedding, being able to kind of essentially hold his gap and not get thrown around, that's going to be the thing that really is going to make or break what his role becomes in the NFL. And it's really that simple.
So Landon, to your point, and also, hey, Cameron, I see you in here. You're good. Check in. Make sure you hit that like button. You already know what it is. And let me hear your insights, brother. You're all good, bro. And Cameron, you always contribute a lot here. I know you play college ball, and you've chimed in with your insights and even been on the channel. So you're all good. The rest you can rewatch. But we're on demo right now. We're just going player by player. And Landon, as you pointed out, in terms of that strength aspect, and this isn't to just beat up on somebody in terms of
no, absolutely not.
Negative film, right?
No, we're just being honest.
This is just
we're being honest.
Being honest, being candid. This is in our opener last season, right? So let's also paint context.
Yeah,
right.
A lot of time
he's the
between
mic.
now and then.
Yeah. So in this scenario, he's the mic right here, right? And I see a comment from Nate that I'm going to address here in a second. But Landon, let me cook for a second.
Yeah, please do.
This is before Jalen Ford assumed that natural position. And one of the things that myself, Landon, even guys like Nino, my partner at SEC Connect, Nino's Corner, and others in the Longhorn content creation space, we have been adamant about, hey, guys that recruiting guys into the program and playing guys in the program that have been playing linebacker for a better part of their lives. Because DeMar Overshown, at this point, yes, he earned his way on the field, everything, right? But him at this Mike position, and we have Luke Brockemeyer. At that point, we started him and Luke B that first year in the program. That was a struggle for those guys, right? And so this film we're going to show isn't to say, hey, he can't play certain positions, but he found his home off ball and at that will position when Jalen Ford was able to assume this role and be that guy in the middle. So this is the season before. This isn't 2022, but this is the type of stuff that the NFL is looking at as we play the clip. And you see how he engages in the middle when the ball is snapped, getting guys on him and shedding blocks, right? The physicality. Now he's able to make, get in there. Him and BJ Foster are able to make this play. But the push, right? And some of the, between him and Luke Brockemeyer, right? It's not a natural position for him versus some other clips we have here where we'll show him coming off and whatnot. And that's actually one of the better clips we have of him shedding, but it's something where that's not going to be where he's going to play in the league. That's not what he's going to be asked to do, right? He's going to be either one of the guys out here, right? Or back where we had Jacoby Jones, or out here on the edge, or even out here at will, where this was now Jalen Ford, who is coming in, filling, getting underneath the guard, making a play to the ball sooner, right? DeMario made a lot of tackles this season, but a lot of tackles were 5, 6, 7, 8 yards down the field. Same thing with Luke B.
Right.
So it's just the understanding of leverage of playing linebacker and how to defeat the leverage of guards and whatnot. And a lot of that is just natural strength too, and understanding how to get to that leverage, right? Of when he's engaging with that guard.
Can we appreciate what Keandre Coburn just did to that left guard 2 plays in a row too, by the way? That's what I was talking about earlier. What happens when you try to block him with just one guy? It usually doesn't end well for the offensive lineman.
Yeah, 99 there in the middle.
Oh my goodness, man.
I mean, that guard was trying to pull.
He was.
That guard was trying to pull. Yeah, and they actually don't even get it off. Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily pull, but he's trying to get out there in space on a zone blocking.
Yeah, it's a reach block.
It's a reach block, and he gets put in the ground, right?
Yeah. I think you're right, though. Like DeMarvin Overshown, I do see him. I mean, he could thrive in that dime backer type of role, like you were saying a second ago. I mean, I think that's like how I see him playing at the next level. And then even too, like I think a lot of teams are going to kind of salivate over the idea of him blitzing from the second level. That's going to be another thing that they're going to try and make work with him. But again, it's just the play strength I think is going to have to improve, and I think it can. So we'll see what happens. Where do you see him going round wise? You think he's like a round 4 guy, or I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When you sent it to me, what Lou Riddick said about Demo, I was like, oh shoot, okay, I can't wait to turn the film on. And then I saw just some of the the stuff that we've talked about. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's a day 3 or a round 3 guy. This is actually one of the ones that I'm probably most uncertain about where he goes, just because like the athleticism teams are going to fall in love with, but then the strength too is going to be like, if you're playing that linebacker position, you've got to be able to kind of handle some of those blocks. Like when you're play side, it's going to be tricky. So I want to know. I can't wait to find out what teams or how teams view him.
So Nate's takes, and I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
You're throwing out some heat tonight, man. And this is another one, right? Guy that was a converted safety, right? And has played multiple positions. Spun down from safety to outside linebacker for Chris Ash, where he did have early success with Chris Ash in more of a traditional 4-3 front. Then we move him inside in PKs, 2-4-5 alignment, which is more of an odd type, scheme in a lot of ways in terms of the
kind of what we were talking
blocking
about
alignment. Right. And then we say, oh, well, Jalen Ford should be there, and which we found money with, right? And we move Demo more to that hybrid position, see ball, hit ball, where now Anthony Hill will play, where Maurice Blackwell will play, and have a little bit more freedom off ball. And yeah, you're absolutely right, right? And he was recruited by Todd Orlando to play safety.
Yep.
So
wild to think
let me answer this.
Orlando's been gone for 4 years now, 4 calendar years. That's crazy.
That is crazy. But let me speak to this real quick. Nate, number one, from a negative standpoint, you have to question the consistency of the player. It's not the player's fault. That's on Texas. And I'm going to blame Texas for somebody else that we're going to talk about in a little bit later. And this is where the buck has to end here with this staff. And hopefully I think it will. I think we have the right staff in place where we have real continuity in our program, to where concepts and schemes and things that we're doing aren't changing on an annual basis. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is on the flip side of that. And this is just with the time I've gotten to be around Caden Stearns and hearing his story and him saying, hey, Steve, in the NFL, it kind of helped me that I played in a bunch of schemes because I can learn anything pretty quick. I've had to play. I understand what corners have to go through now. I understand what nickels have to go through now. Him and PJ over there in Denver, they were baptized in scheme change, and they're still going through that in Denver. Hopefully, they now have continuity with Sean Payton in that regime, right? But they were picked up by Vic Fangio.
One of the more well-respected defensive coordinators in the league.
Right? And so think about how many people they've played for. But one of the reasons why PJ and Caden have gotten off to faster starts and been able to be key parts, get well soon, Caden Stearns, was that positional versatility and them understanding different schemes and where to play. So it's a love-hate thing. But ideally, where you want to be as a program, especially if you're winning, you want to have continuity. Because if you have continuity in an advanced scheme, guys will learn anyway.
Dude, that's so
regardless.
Yeah. It's crucial. Absolutely crucial.
This play, though. Oh, go ahead, Landon.
No. I was just gonna ramble. Go ahead.
So this play, though, and Landon put the marker here. So this is 2022, right? This is now Demo at more of that will linebacker position, where he's out and free and able to play and use his speed and athleticism and scrape across all the traffic
Yep. This is what teams love.
This is what teams love. This is why Louis Riddick and you look at certain teams. I mean, look at the suddenness to the football. Once he sees it, boom, stepping head in the ground and the finish.
Yeah. There's another one too.
Boom. Right.
It's like the lateral agility too. Just kind of like he is reading and he's diagnosing, but he's just so lightning quick pursuing from that backside, man. It's just like, and it's
that's
weird
Eric
because
Gray, by the way.
Yeah. No, he's a draftable player this year too. I mean, he's probably going to be a day 3 guy as well at the running back position. He's I know the Cowboys have some interest in him, as well as Marvin Mims. Marvin was a 30-day visit, if I'm not mistaken.
Look at T Sweat playing out on the edge.
I didn't even notice him when I was watching it earlier.
It's so right there. So that's what I was talking about with PK this past season being more hybrid. So we're in a 3-down look, right?
Yep.
But I think that's Morrow, Keandre, and no, that's Baron Sorrell, excuse me.
Yeah, it's Baron.
So Baron Sorrell, Keandre at nose, right? Head up over the center. And then you actually had Kavondre Sweat playing almost like these are some really cool alignments that PK started to get to.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to really just like look at all the alignment and stuff. I was looking at even some of the offensive formations too, man. Some of the stuff Sark was in his bag early on in a lot of these games, and like they ran a pistol set with. I forgot about this. They ran a pistol set with Keelan, Rojo, and Bijan all in the backfield at the same time, and they just had a ridiculous misdirection going on. It's just all kinds of eye candy, but yeah, it's cool to see.
I mean, OU does the flip front side where Eric's over Antoine Harrison, and they're basically pulling Antoine and the guard for a counter. And our guy here, I don't know if you guys can see me, circling.
Yeah, I can see it.
Jade, right? But I just think that this is. Hold on. Jade Barron's over here diving underneath. Like, pretty cool. Anyway.
There might be one other play. I don't know if you can pull it up or if we need to move on tomorrow.
No, I'll pull it up.
He's pursuing, and you just see like he's coming across the formation basically, and he's the first guy to the football. It's just like that's the type of stuff that teams are gonna bank on and try and kind of coach him up and figure out the strength part. Maybe we can't sit here and pretend like he can't add 10 pounds and still be an elite athlete too. So that could certainly be something that they do early on in his career. But at the very least, he's going to be a productive special teams player. And then, maybe a rotational dime backer guy early on, and then figure it out as they go. But he's the one question mark for me where I'm like, I have no idea what the range is. I mean, I could see him going as early as round 3. I could see him going as late as round 5 or 6. So I have no idea.
I'm still searching for that last one. Was it another OU play?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay. I think I have it here. Let me know if you Is it this one? I'm gonna play it.
It's the play is moving to the left. I know that. Yeah. This is it. He didn't actually make the tackle, but look where he comes from across the formation, and he's there. Like if he doesn't get tripped up, he's making the play. He's damn near at the number on the opposite side of the field. Look at this pursuit. That's what I'm talking about. The backside pursuit. It's unrivaled. But just when teams are coming downhill at him, that's when he struggles. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. I don't know if you already showed the one against Alabama too, where he's like out of the screen, and then I think Jahmyr Gibbs catches a swing pass or something, and he makes the tackle. But dude, he's just like he's shot out of a cannon. He lit his ass up. But
now we're about to get to Jamison. We're about to get to Jamison, Nate. That's going to be one of our last ones. So the next one, here's my thing on Overshown. I'm not betting against him. I'm not betting against him.
We'd be foolish to.
I think he's going to go. I actually think he's going to go. He'll be the third Texas player drafted.
Okay. So you think Bijan, then Rojo, then Demo?
And I think there's that's how I kind of have it. Yeah, Bijan, Rojo, Demo. I think he'll be the third player drafted.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Keandre is the third, but again, I'll stand corrected if that's not the case.
All it takes is one to see what you see, Landon.
That's right. That's right.
All it takes is one. All right, so we got the next guy here who very proud of this young man. Moro Ojomo played multiple positions for us, and a guy that came in here, I think 16 years old when he came from Katy, and obviously a brilliant young man. Very, very advanced, well beyond his age. But when it comes to the age aspect, one of the things that you'll see with Ojomo is he's a guy he's going to be, whether it was a 4-3 under Chris Ash and he's played more of a 3 technique, whether it was a, 3-man front under Todd Orlando, playing more of that 3-4 strong side defensive end, and even playing 4-eye in PK scheme to help us set the edge properly and balance the run. There's a lot that Ojomo offers, and I think he's a little bit better pass rusher than people may realize. It's just been one of those unsung Texas players, like a Malcolm Roach, right, over the years, and guys that shoot a Taquan Graham that maybe not have gotten the same publicity, but I know one thing I know about Ojomo, and I know a lot of people didn't like what he said when he got public availability last year, and he kind of aired out the locker room stuff, but he's serious about ball. He's serious about ball. He's a guy that is smart enough to have played in a bunch of different schemes. He has good size for the NFL, and is somebody that will, don't be surprised if you look up and he's been in the league for 8, 9, 10 years, right? I don't know if he'll ever be a sexy superstar level guy, even to the level that Puna Ford has become. Like, Puna Ford is one of the better guys in the league at what he does, right? Like, I don't know if he'll become that. I don't think he definitely doesn't have the length and bend of a Charles Omenihu. Like, Charles Omenihu has developed into a upper tier guy. I don't know if Ojomo will be that type of person. But
he relies more on power too, I would say, for sure, than somebody like Omenihu. If you're going to comp that, I absolutely agree. He's more of a power type rusher. But so we were talking. I want to hear you maybe get your thoughts a little bit more on this, because I was kind of on the fence about how I see him translating to the league. Right? I mean, we talked about the different style of fronts that he's been, and the last 4 years, I guess, really. but there's some mixed thoughts on if he's more of like your 4-3 end, or is he more of like your interior 3 tech type? I mean, because the size, I mean, he's like right in the middle. So I think teams are going to struggle. Like, where do I actually put him? How do I see him translating? I think he's more of an interior guy. I know, Steven, you said you thought he was more kind of an edge guy. Is that correct?
I have him as not necessarily as an edge guy, but as a 3-4 DN.
Like oh, you said 3-4 in. Okay, so yeah, that's right.
3-4,
so I said like
a 3-4, yeah.
And
so
that's similar. That's similar to a 4-3 tech.
Correct, because that edge is still going to play off of them, right? In the 3-4, it's just that person's essentially standing up versus in a 3-point stance outside of the tackle. But the responsibilities, for lack of a better term, could be the same, right? But I think we see him in a similar light. A lot of guys that quote unquote 3 techs can translate over and play 3-4 end. Depending on, JJ Watt's done it, Aaron Donald's done it. Depending on how you want to, whoever the coordinator is, it's more of a preference, honestly. I don't get caught up in that stuff as much. I more so look at the gap, right? What gap are you responsible for, and where your run fit is, and
run fits,
and what leverage you're playing at, right? So in terms of the run fit, we're almost kind of talking about the same thing, but we see him in the same light. Now
he can anchor. I don't question his ability to anchor at all. Like in that role, like he's powerful, man. He played like the first thing I wrote down in my notes was power in all caps, because he's just a powerful guy. He even tested in the 93rd percentile with his vert and the 88th percentile with his broad jump. So like he's got some explosive ability too. It's just I think he's not necessarily as nimble. Kind of you alluded to that earlier with the hips. I think like that's where there may be some concern with his ability to rush from the interior, but more of an early down run stuffing type of guy, man. I mean, he's going to dominate playing the run if that's his role. Like I don't have any question at all. I see Dorian here. He says, 3-4 DN with ability to play DT in a 4 down. So absolutely agree. Yeah.
And the thing too is that he bailed us out a lot. I mean, this staff coming in wanting to play a very, very different style of defense, and you add in the influence of a Gary Patterson on top of that, it was a very different type of defense for what we had recruited for under Todd Orlando, Tom Herman, and ultimately Chris Ash as well, right? In terms of more of that 4-down look. And Ogemo, we ultimately kind of asked him to play like I said, 4-eye, some of that jack position type stuff. And yeah, he's not going to be a guy that's you're going to say, hey, drop off into the flats and cover somebody, right? Or anything like that. But that kind of speaks to where Texas was and where we hope Texas is going, right? Because we had to play him there at times out of necessity to stop the run. Y'all remember people were going crazy against on us on outside zone in 2021. Let me not bring that up again. Whether it was Bryce Hall or, every single week somebody was going crazy getting outside of us. Kennedy Brooks, the whole bit, right? So that was tough.
Kennedy Brooks, I forgot about that.
one of the things that we were able to do to kind of help plug that and alleviate that concern was every now and again, especially early downs, kicking him out there to help against that. Now, he took one for the team because that's not even his position. That's right. Landon, you just heard Landon and I say he's more of a interior guy on a one-on-one, whether it's the 3 technique or 3-4, whatever gap he is. But he did that for the sake of the team, even though, we're kind of telling teams, hey, y'all, we're telling you what we're going to do, why we have him out there, because we don't have a person that is hybrid enough to play both, like what we hopefully do now. So very thankful for Ojimo for being able to do that for us, as well as play inside, play a volume of snaps, have some great pressures, graded very well. And as a young guy, he's a young asset. He's a young asset. He's still in his very early 20s. He's not somebody that's in their mid 20s because of how young he was coming into this program and the natural play strength. I think he's going to help a rotation in the league. Zerline has him in that 5'6" range. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
sounds right to me. I
okay.
co-align with that.
Okay.
How do you feel about it? You see him a
Now,
little earlier?
no, I have him in that range.
Okay.
I have him in that range. He's not sexy in terms of like, I know Richard was talking about earlier about sacks and all that type of stuff, numbers and all that. Like, but there were games throughout Ojimo's career where we would look up and he'd have 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, multiple pressures, and
he's got dynamite hands, man. Like it's almost like. So we talked about the explosiveness with like the broad and the vert. It's there, but I mean, it's if he just adds like the slightest bit. And I'm obviously not a defensive line technical coach or an expert by any stretch. I'm just going off what my eyes tell me. With power and the dynamite in his hands, and he's got the athletic ability, like even to move laterally. Right, he tested well at the combine, and I'm watching him pursue ball carriers right here. I mean, if he can add just a little bit of technical nuance as a pass rusher and not so much rely on only power, especially from the interior at the next level where guys are bigger and stronger and more, fundamentally sound with their hand placement and all that stuff. I think he can win, man. I really do. I don't know. I'm seeing the overarching theme for me when I watch Morrow. It's just dynamite hands. I just keep thinking dynamite hands, power, dynamite hands. That's over and over again. So developing a little bit more as a pass rusher, I think he's gonna be serviceable for sure. I don't know.
There's
I like the range
too
though,
with
round
Morrow.
5.
There's some things with Morrow too because of his age, where you could say, "Hey, Landon, that might be upside," because hey, now you're full-time football. Morrow, again, my Nigerian brothers out there, they get intense when it comes to that school, bro, and getting in them books and making sure that they are the best students possible and whatnot. So now that he's going to be full-time, 100% focused on football, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. And let's mark this down right now as we come to almost the end of the video. But if he got some moves, if he develops some things now that he has time to work on some of these things, and it's like, oh wow, like I didn't know he had that in his bag, and that's something that he developed, right? And so Fahim here, some really cool stats here, and I know Fahim's actually helping us out with some of the PFF grades. Again, that's another guy that PFF loved. PFF loved our defensive line last year, guys. And it showed.
He was a Big 12.
I mean, this
second teamer as well?
Yes, second teamer.
I think he was second. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And that's voted on by the coaches. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, if we look at that TCU game, and I'm mad as shit about the TCU game, but that's Sark. I'm and he knows that. He knows I'm upset with him about that. However,
I don't have that film from any defensive prospect either, by the way, that's weird to me.
The TCU game.
Yeah.
That TCU team that went and played in the national championship game and was also blown off of the face of the earth by the Georgia Bulldogs. That was a not safe for work type game. But I digress. That TCU Horned Frogs team that came down to Austin and beat us, that was one of the most at some point this offseason, I'm going to go back and watch that game in its entirety. But I've never felt so impressed. I watched that game at the airport, by the way. I've never felt so impressed with a Texas defense and on a big stage
than I was
that night
something we weren't
against
expecting.
TCU.
Yep, I saw it in person, man. I was dumbfounded.
Oh yeah, I forgot you went to the game. I forgot you went to the game, and it was cold. It was cold as shit.
It was cold. I was
the defense was hurt,
on
bro.
both ends of the spectrum. The defense looked championship ready, and the offense looked abysmal. So I don't know, but I can't watch it. I can't go back and look at why, because I don't have access to it. And any of the game tape that I got from our defensive prospects or offensive prospects, it's not listed. So they scheming up on us for some reason.
Yeah. If we can ever get that all 22 from
this is just complete sidebar and reckless speculation, but I was so frustrated and butthurt that I made the trip to that game. I actually made a TikTok that night, and I made the excuse. This was how I sold it to myself to ease the pain a little bit. I was getting gas, and I just put some thoughts together real quick. I basically said that if TCU lost that game, the Big 12 lost its representative in the college football playoff. So that's all I'm gonna say.
That game, though, that game was on us, though.
Absolutely, it was. Absolutely.
That was, for several different reasons. That's why I hope we have growth. Just quick, another sidebar, but we in a live, so this is what lives are about. We rap about these things. And I'm gonna try to sum this at 2 hours, because I didn't even realize it's been 1:51, and Landon has a beautiful daughter and family he needs to get to, as well as his pups.
That's right.
But that game, that's where, and I've put out 2 videos. Y'all go watch them, about offensive review from the spring, defensive review from the spring. Shout out to the Unfiltered guys on Facebook that joined me for those videos. By the way.
I enjoyed that on my drive home from San Antonio the other day. That was good.
Thank you. No, those I enjoy talking ball with those brothers, man. They mean a lot to me as well, and that's the aspect and the spirit as Texas fans. But we can talk about talent and development and all these things, and I love what Sark is doing with the people he's brought to this program. We can talk about the quarterbacks. We can talk about Bijan. We can talk about all this stuff, right? And the weapons we have now. At some point, Steve Sarkisian has to outcoach people and has to be that guy that puts his what on the table to win football games, the way the big dogs have in college football. College football is still a coach's game, man. I mean, when you look at the college football playoff last year, you say what you want about Sonny Dykes. Okay. You had Kirby Smart, you had Jim Harbaugh, and you had Ryan Day. Go look at their career win percentages.
Yep.
Go look at their career win percentages. Okay. And that's even with Harbaugh having a down period at Michigan, building it back at his alma mater and getting his ass whooped by Urban Meyer, Ohio State, and all that. Even with all that, go look at their win percentages.
Firing him 2 years in a row, and he's still in that upper echelon. Yeah.
So for Steve Sarkisian, we need to win football games. And that right there, that TCU game, that Texas Tech game, that wasn't to me about, we have shortcomings at this position. We're not perfect. And we're always trying to make the roster better. But good coaching pulls those games out, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I know Steve can do it. That's why I believe. I know he can do it. But he has to show it over a course of a season. Steve Sarkisian has coached over 100 college football games as a head coach between Washington, USC, and Texas. Mm-hmm. It's time. It's time to come up there, regardless of situation, you pull the game out. Regardless of situation, You can't lose a football game like that if you're Texas at home with a defense that plays the way that they did that night against TCU, a TCU
That
team
was a
that came into
championship
that
effort.
game. TCU team that came
Yeah.
into that game averaging 44, 45 points a game. TCU was like top 3 in scoring offense in the country. And
Dude.
you held them to
Crazy.
they scored 2 touchdowns the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta go win that football game. You gotta
And
go
one of them
win
was
that
complete blown coverage, like busted coverage, complete miscommunication on the back end that shouldn't have ever happened either. So the scheme was perfectly dialed up and executed, with the exception of one play. They scored 1 touchdown outside of that. I also, just the last thing before we get out of here, and we can address this comment too, Steven. You said it and it was very important. I wanna hammer this home. You're talking about Steve Sarkisian being it's go time, right? And I agree. But you talked about this on your video with the Unfiltered guys, and I thought it was incredible. I'm sitting there, I'm driving, and I'm like, just like pumping my fists, like, dude, come on, Steve, preach to him, man. I was so happy that you were saying it, but basically, you were hammering home the point of the continuity, having a quarterback and a coordinator, a play caller, right, in year 2 consecutively now with Steve Sarkisian at Texas. That can't be overlooked.
We haven't had it
in an AP level course for I mean, this is big boy offense that Steve Sarkisian's asking these quarterbacks to do, right, to handle, right? This is not elementary level stuff here, right? This is big boy. These are big boy concepts and big boy schemes. Year 2 now with Quinn. There are no more excuses for the offense, right? So it's time to go.
Look, I want to touch on 2 other guys here that we have.
We'd be remiss not to.
That right now, and guys, we focused on, and the reason, and I know some parents and stuff have mentioned, hey, why weren't certain people on Texas graphics and things of that sort. Look, there's no shade. We love everybody that comes into this program, and we want nothing but the best for these kids. 100%, right? But we focused in this case on the guys that earned combine invitations, right? And the league is telling us, hey, this player is going to be draftable. But with that being said, right now I have a Cook on the screen, and I call him Anthony Cook, out of Houston, right? And I'm gonna start with A Cook, and then we'll end with Shark, Deshaun Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think A Cook's going to get drafted.
Hard, don't he?
He's battle ready, and I mess with A Cook. I mess with him. Okay. Just based on what we've heard, and this isn't me. I'm not saying he's not draftable. I don't think you are either, Landon. I think it's more so what the league
behind the scenes work that we're doing.
Right.
We can only report what we read and hear. So,
but the last few years, Malcolm Roach went undrafted. He's just signed, I believe, his second or third contract with the New Orleans Saints. He hasn't left New Orleans, and it's been years, and he's still making the 53 every single year. He's still part of that defensive line rotation. He's still a special teamer. He's making money, and he's from Louisiana, which is freaking dope. And he's playing in his home state, and still a productive NFL player. And he wasn't drafted, so it's not the end. My boy Schoolie, and y'all laugh at Brendan Schooler. And he went from receiver with the white guy with the knee brace running down the field to safety to all these different things. And all he did was go undrafted, have a great workout, and make the 53-man roster for the New England Patriots.
Destined to be a Patriot.
And
destined for it. We were all thinking it's all good.
It's not It's not the end all be all. Okay, it's not the end all be all. And I will let me say this.
Let's not pretend like undrafted free agents can't get paid too, man. A lot of times it's better because you get to select come eat dinner family.
My wife said I gotta come. She's hitting me on the stream now. Damn.
That's right. That's how we got to. Hi, Bree.
He said, "Hi, Bree." Hey, Bree, I'm coming. I'm coming. Too. Yeah. Great point here, Andrew Beck, another one, right? And that goes for
good call.
That goes for a guy like a Jaleel Billingsley, and his family. Charles, who's very proud of his son, Charles Billingsley, and wanting to see those guys get drafted and his, everything they have to prove. But with A. Cook, I want to say this real quick with Landon with A. Cook. Hopefully, this is the end of guys at his level coming into this program that don't fulfill their promise, because it's not his fault, in my opinion.
Yeah, man.
He came here.
I've always loved him as
Ohio State, and he stayed with us. He played multiple positions. He played across different staffs. A. Cook, my prediction for A. Cook is he's going to be another PJ Locke. He's going to be another PJ Locke that finds a home like PJ's found in Denver, and or old boy Adrian Phillips that is still in the league and has been in the league for a minute now. Guys like that, but guys like Anthony Cook that were high 4 stars, at one point had a 5th star. We have to do right by them by getting them to where they need to go moving forward. And that's Terrence Brooks. That's Malik Muhammad, right?
Yep.
That's the Derek Williams coming into this program that will come in the summer. No more. Well, we have to start there. We have to start there. Hey, stay woke. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. And thank you, Landon, for jumping on. Landon, can you touch on as we wrap up? Can you touch on Deshaun and just any thoughts you have there?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think teams are gonna like what he has to offer as a special teamer, and if that's your entry to the league, and that's what it takes to make that 53-man roster, which we know there's 3 phases to football, and
yep,
if that's what it takes, man, he's certainly capable of doing it, right? So we've seen him in the return game, how effective he can be. I don't know how teams see him. I just had this flashback. ESPN continues to use the wrong number 5 when they're using their Bijan Robinson graphics. That's hilarious to me. But yeah, man. I mean, again, these undrafted players, whether or not he gets drafted is besides the point. But it's undrafted free agents. It's not uncommon for them to get their second contract. We're seeing it with the Cowboys right now with Terrence Steele, who was RFA'd, and he's about to get another big bag. So it's not uncommon. It happens. So I think Deshaun Jameson's going to have some value in the league, and it's just a matter of being that football type of guy, right? Get in the facilities, be coachable, and just bust your ass. The athlete is there. There's a market for elite return men in the NFL. Look at Kevontae Turpin. He was on the streets basically in the USFL and all over the place. I mean, let a guy like that be right bowler now. So I don't know. I'm rooting for him, man. Once again, just the contributions to the program. We want guys like that who have, who are highly touted coming out of high school to end up and get what they deserve. And so if we want to play the victim card for DeMar Van Overshown being, not the victim card, but it was a disservice to him to have to learn
multiple coordinators,
different defense.
Yeah,
right. So it's the case for all these guys. But now the continuity that Steven keeps talking about, and that I'm going to keep hammering home, is we're starting to see that become a reality for Texas, and hopefully this is the end of talented guys like these not getting the recognition and the draft status that they otherwise may have deserved. So
this is such an important draft for Texas, and I hope we're able to sneak in. If somebody decides to take a chance in the 7th round on Deshaun or on A. Cook or on a Jalil Billingsley, that only, and whether or not they do, or if these guys are undrafted free agents and find a home in the correct place. I mean, a lot of times at the end of the draft, you're actually at an advantage, as we've seen with guys like PJ Locke and Andrew Beck and Calvin Anderson, where they can find a better fit that works exactly for them.
Right. Exactly. And sometimes it can be advantageous.
The perfect situation. Yeah, like Josh Thompson last season with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who ended up getting onto the 53-man roster as well. And you look at the stuff that Josh went through, Josh Thompson, and very similar to Deshaun Jameson, who's played on both sides. And I want to say this about Deshaun. Yes, the coverage, if he wants to play defense, and I see Fahim's comment here, and I'm gonna get back to NME Michael here in a second, but when they talk about in phase versus out of phase, Deshaun out of phase, so more like that zone, kind of your eyes are on the quarterback, coverage. right, and you're looking forward. It's not necessarily hands-on man. You're glued on, attached in phase, but more zone coverage. He's had his struggles. Let's just be real. I mean, the field just didn't seem to be there naturally as a corner. I thought he was better in man, in phase, and staying attached. The speed is there.
They tried that with like placing him to the field side and allowing just like his breakability and athleticism to kind of try to make plays on the ball, but it's just it never really panned out.
And the thing too is that
they had Ryan Watts to the boundary.
Yeah, I mean, but if Deshaun was 6 feet tall and had a better wingspan, that's where it really becomes a game of inches, right? But because of his smaller stature, you really have to have really good technique, right? You really the speed isn't enough at that point. So the reason why we have this picture here, and the Unfiltered guys, Chris and Vashon actually alluded to this on today's show, was the kick return ability and the punt return ability that he can do.
There's a market for it,
and
absolutely,
there's a market for it. Now, Nate, just real quick, I wish he was our weapon. And we have to find that again, because, that's not really Xavier Worthy, as much as I love him as a player. That's not necessarily his thing as a punt returner. But with Deshaun playing, it's hard for Deshaun to run on a go route 50 yards downfield and covering somebody and getting a PBU and then having gas.
Yeah.
Then turn around and field punts.
Yeah.
That's what that turned into, just FYI. Versus before, he was in and out, right, on defense. He wasn't necessarily the full-time guy. He was rotating a little bit when we had more guys. And we weren't, he wasn't, at the time he was rotational at field corner. So he could commit more to being that designated punt return man every single time.
That's interesting.
So it was different.
I just learned something right there too. I've never really considered that, but that makes a lot of sense.
It was, because he would run and it's something you notice more when you're present, right? Because you see you don't see on the TV copy the guy run off after he's ran 50 yards downfield on a go or a deep post, and he's getting his water as the other punt return guy's going in. Versus if nothing happened on the play, coach, no, I'll take fourth down alert. Okay, cool. I'll take punt return duties. So we have to factor that in as well. Whereas in the league, his only way on the team may be return duties and special teams coverage, to what Landon said earlier. So we have to take that into account. Everybody here, no, in all seriousness though, I'm so thankful. Enemy Michael, thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you guys, appreciate it.
I apologize, my mic wasn't lined up with my words. Y'all said I was Milli Vanilli out here. I saw the jokes earlier.
I was laughing at that too behind the scenes.
Your boy doesn't get rattled, bruh. But no, in all seriousness, the more it helps the channel, the better equipment we can get. Maybe one day we'll hire a producer and do this thing the right way, right? Where I don't have to be the producer myself. Maybe I can,
it's tough out here when you wearing 3, sometimes 4 hats, man. When you doing it all behind the scenes. Yeah,
absolutely. But everybody that's been rocking with us these last 2 hours, I know it's been a long one, but this is the full draft guide. If you're a draft nut, if you love these players, and we'll break up some clips. We'll break up some clips throughout the next few days to make it a little bit easier to consume. Guys, check out Landon. Landon, go ahead and plug yourself before we wrap up.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I was actually going to also add in there. Y'all follow me on Twitter too, at the Lando Show. I'm the same on all socials. I do a lot of my mostly short form stuff on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts because I had a daughter. So the long form stuff hasn't been in the wheelhouse lately, but it's fun to get back with Steven and kind of get back in the rhythm of the long form stuff. I really enjoy this type of stuff too. But over the next, I guess, 36 hours and change. I don't even know. Math is hard. Until the draft, I'll be breaking down a lot more prospects for the for the NFL in general, and then I'll have some more clips from our Texas guys that we just covered today. I'll have some more of their all 22 stuff where you can kind of see like what they really see their strengths shine, and I'll just be posting a bunch of those in some threads and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to nerding out for the next day and a half until the draft starts, and continuing to pump out that short form content. If you guys like if you've seen and like what I do with the Cowboys, I've got a lot of fun stuff planned for Texas coming up soon. So I've literally got a book full of notes and stuff and topics that I'm going to that I'll be covering, including Steve Sarkisian's offense and what to expect this season moving forward in year 2, like we touched on earlier with the continuity of him and Steve Sarkisian, or of Steve and Quinn. So yeah, man, this is awesome. Thank you guys all for sticking with us for two full hours on a Tuesday.
Look, and support Landon 10, laststandhats.com. Landon 10, right? When you guys, by the way, any of us content creators out there, anytime y'all plug in those promo codes, it does help us a little bit, right? To grow this platform and improve things. And I'm so proud of Landon in a phase of his life where he retired from professional baseball and, bought a new house, he and his wife, and have a beautiful new daughter and becoming brand new parents. He's had his biggest growth as a content creator in the social media space and become a real valued presence for Cowboy Twitter, for sports content, and has become one of the real fast risers in short form. So so very proud of you, brother. But people need to know,
appreciate that, man.
In my opinion, that you grew during a period of extreme transition and just things going on.
Sometimes I'll be honest with you, man. It has been a very challenging phase for me figuring out just who I am, who I'm supposed to be, what God wants for me in this next chapter. So to hear you say that sometimes is like, it's, verification that I forget to consider sometimes, right? Like just be present and understand and be thankful for all the things that you have, and then understand that, God's got a plan. So thank you for acknowledging that.
Keep your head down, keep being a good husband, keep being a good father, the whole bit, and
it's weird.
What you love, right? So
yeah,
y'all like, subscribe, sub up. Thank you to our sponsors, Last Stand Hats, again, Aura.com. There's the 14-day free trial. Again, like I said before, any of these promos and whatnot, do support us as content creators. But in all seriousness, the value is there. The value is there in an immense way. Check out aura.com/fanatic or take a picture of that QR code, that 14-day free trial. All-in-one digital security services. We got Robert Downey Jr. on board. They're the official sponsor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've got just in the digital security market, second to none in terms of VPN services, credit monitoring, fraud prevention, everything you need to make sure that you and your family are safe from any cyber threats, digital threats. Those of you that have multiple devices in the home, various sites, email protection, malware, all sorts of things. Aura's got your back. Aura.com/fanatic. Check them out. Landon, thank you again. Y'all, hey, we'll be here draft night. We might be doing, a live stream during the draft where I might just stream where I'm chilling, watching the draft, talking to y'all. I might do that.
That'll be dope.
I think that might be a move there. So stay tuned. Check out the video we did with,
Golly, I can't wait. Oh,
yeah.
We are here.
But tap in, y'all. Appreciate it. Horns always up. Good luck.